Hey, it's John. Welcome back to the show, and welcome to the latest edition of Latter Day Albums. The premise of this series is to talk about latter day albums by a legacy band or perhaps a cult band that has a large catalog, and perhaps this album doesn't get enough love or recognition. Before we discuss the album today, let me introduce you to my distinguished guest. You no doubt know him from his work on Tim's Final Confessions, as well as Slogan's Rock and Metal Extravaganza. My friend Chez Cetra, welcome back to the show.
Hey, John, thank you as always for having me. Always a pleasure, always grateful, and really looking forward to this.
As am I. Chez picked the album we're going to discuss today, and this album was released in 2008, and it was one of the biggest selling albums of 2008, although we don't hear much about it anymore. AC/DC with Black Ice. To this date, this is their third most recent album. They haven't been very prolific with their albums in the last 2 decades, and there's the vinyl there that Chez is showing up. Nice. Very good. This was released internationally on October 20, 2008 on Columbia Records. This album was produced by Brendan O'Brien. And here we have the liner notes here. We got a nice picture of the band here. These guys in the band may look familiar to you. This is after Bon Scott died. This would be considered the classic AC/DC lineup, and this would be the last album that their leader Malcolm Young on rhythm guitar and backing vocals would play on. We also have his brother, the incomparable Angus Young, on lead guitar, Brian Johnson on lead vocals, Cliff Williams on bass guitar, Phil Rudd on drums. To this day, Angus and Brian are still in the band. Phil and Cliff have since retired from the road. I believe they may be official members, but they're no longer touring with the band. These guys have been around a hell of a long time, and they got a lot of miles on their bodies, a lot of shows under their belts. So this album, Black Ice, went to number one in 29 different countries. This was a very big selling album in the United States. It debuted at number one. It was only their second album at that point to hit number one in the States. Their first one was For Those About to Rock, We Salute You from 1981. This would be the second best selling album of 2008 in the States. One of the reasons was at that time, AC/DC refused to put their catalog out on streaming services. So you had to get the physical copy in order to hear their songs. This album, and this is something I'd like to ask you about, Chez, as we go along. In the United States, this was originally only available at Walmart because, as Angus Young said in an interview, Walmart is the biggest carrier of music in the United States. So you had to go to Walmart to pick it up. And at that time, they had these, and I saw this for myself, they had these little mini AC/DC stores in all the Walmarts showing and they'd have this available and all the others. And I believe at that point, they went and put them all out on Digipacks. So that just leads me to this, Chez. Did they do that in Canada too?
Oh yeah, I remember day of release going to Walmart. You had to get it at Walmart here in Canada, so they made it like a North American thing. And the same thing, little ACDC stores. I don't think the ACDC sections in the Walmart in Canada's were as big as the Walmarts in the States, because I would see videos and they were selling T-shirts and they had the back catalog. But when I saw like the Walmarts in the States, watching the videos, they seem to have more, but it was the same concept. I was at Walmart that day of release. So yeah, same thing here in Canada. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So you bought this on the day of its release. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I ran out to Walmart that day. Yep.
Very cool. So this was their first album in 8 years. That album was Stiff Upper Lip. This is their biggest selling album since The Razor's Edge in 1990.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over this album just to let you know it went double platinum here in the United States. It went 5 times platinum in Canada, Australia, and Germany, 4 times platinum in Switzerland. It went gold, at least gold, nearly all over the world, and more often than not in the countries where there's a lot of music sold, it went platinum. So, Ches, when did you first get familiar with AC/DC's music?
So back in the day, certainly heard their songs on the radio. Like you would hear, the hits from Back in Black, Highway to Hell. And I would say it was about 1983. I just said it's about time to get an album by these guys. I like all these songs, and it was great back then. I still like to do that these days. You went and I was just flipping through the cassettes in the record store, and I just stumbled across Let There Be Rock. I had heard friends at school talk about that album. I never heard it, and I said I'm going to get this one as my first one, and I played that cassette nonstop. And what was exciting about it was just each week I would go buy a new AC/DC album. I was buying them on cassettes back then. And it was just so exciting because I primarily focused on the Bond albums at the beginning, even though I'd heard all the Back in Black and then For Those About to Rock, which was the Brian albums that were out. I got those eventually within the same year, obviously, but I was hooked on the Bond stuff first. And it was just exciting back then to just go back, and there was just this catalog of albums. And I think we still like to do that these days, discover someone new. And it's cool when there's so much there to choose from. And so that's when it started, and they just kind of became my favorite band, since then. And it just kind of stuck with me. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you said that you started buying their albums on cassette. Well, back in the day, they were my favorite band. And I don't have them all anymore. I can't find my High Voltage. Oh, but I so love Let There Be Rock. That's
the one. Yeah.
80s, that was my favorite AC/DC album. And then, I just kept building, right? Yep. I just kept building. Now, I don't know where the heck the cassette, this insert here has gone through the war. I don't know where the cassette is. Back in Black. I do have this on CD. And it was weird because Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. When I would put back then with my collection, I put them all chronological. I never know where to put this. Do you put this right after High Voltage, or do you go and put it after Back in Black? Because here it came out after Back.
Yeah. That's where I put it, after Back in Black on the shelf. Yep.
There you go.
Nice.
And this bad boy is aged so well for me. This is the one that I always go back to these days.
I love that one. Excellent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And by this point, I was probably buying them as they came out. And then I worked my way back. Actually, I don't know if my first one was 74 Jailbreak or Fly on the Wall, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Some of them are missing. I had Who Made Who. I lent it out to somebody. He wouldn't give it back to me. So my sister Jill, hi Jill, if you're watching, went out and bought me the CD, right?
Nice.
I had Blow Up Your Video on cassette. I don't know what became of it. I had the CD too. And here's Razor's Edge. And now, as far as their later stuff, I kind of fell out with them. I did have AC/DC Live. I should have bought the 2 CD edition, but I only had the 1. And then, after many, many years, I think I bought this at Walmart, Rock or Bust.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I remember when this came out, a lot of people were like, oh my God, it's their best album since Back in Black. And I wrote a review on Amazon, and the title was "Calm Down, Everyone,"
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's good, but
yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, right?
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, there were some kick ass songs on here. I never liked "Rock the Blues Away" though. "Rock the Blues Away" to me sounded like John Cougar Mellencamp. I just couldn't get into it. And this, full disclosure, I just picked this up when Ches and I were talking about doing ACDC for this series. And I think I reached out to you, and I had bought this because I found it new. And I was on its way, and I said, "What album do you want to do?" And you said "Black Ice." I'm like, "Well, it's on its way." So that works out perfect.
Nice.
Okay. So we're going to talk about this album today, what we like about it, what we may not be so crazy about. So, Ches, what do you think are the highlights on this album?
Oh, like there's a number of great songs. Like I love the lead off song Rock and Roll Train. To me, that's just classic ACDC hook right there. Great way to start it. Title track Black Ice, War Machine, I think's a highlight. One of my favorite songs, Rock and Roll Dream. I just love that song. It's become one of my favorite ACDC songs. Definitely the latter day ACDC, but it's kind of jumped up for me.
Okay.
I like Anything Goes. It was a single. It was a video. It's kind of like in the vein of Money Talks from the Razor's Edge. Just
Yes.
it kind of reminds me of that. But I can remember, and also back then, there was 4 singles, but there was 2 videos. There was video for Rock and Roll Train and for Anything Goes. And back then, when this was released, like we're talking 2008, back here in Much Music, they were still showing videos. Now it's gone the way of MTV. It's not a video showing station anymore. It's just like MTV. It's just showing television programs. But back then, they were still showing videos, and I remember that Anything Goes got quite a bit of airplay up here for that. So I think that kind of added to it. But I just like the pop hook in the song and just kind of like the beat. And it's just another fun ACDC song. But there's a highlights. There's a number of songs on there I like, and then there's like I think like well I'm sure we'll get into it later. There's some songs which I feel would have been best kind of left off, maybe to show up someplace else. I'm sure we'll get to that. But those are definitely the highlights for me.
Okay, we agree on most. Rock and Roll Train, I remember when that came out, and I was like, "Wow, this is good." I To this day, I think that was the best single they had released since Thunderstruck.
Yeah, yeah,
That
great
song is
single.
wicked.
Yeah,
And they still do this one live, I believe, "Rock and Roll Train." I think this is the only song that survived from the Black Ice album into
yeah,
their live show. So that one I love. I love Big Jack.
great song. Yeah,
I love that one. They pick up the pace. It rocks really hard. I love War Machine.
yeah,
War
yeah.
Machine is excellent. I see that one actually won a Grammy here in the United States for best artist.
Best rock performance. Yeah,
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 and I didn't know that until I was just doing my research on this. I was like, that is one of the better tracks on the album, no doubt about it. I love the title song at the end. I
yeah,
think the riff on there is so menacing.
yeah.
That one
Cool.
is very, very good. I like Decibel.
Nice.
Oh, it
Yeah.
sounds like they're saying Jezebel, but it's
Yeah.
Decibel.
Mhm.
That one, I like Brian's vocal on that. I like it sounds a little more like early ACDC in its execution, which I think is very cool. I do like Skies on Fire a lot. That's more mid-tempo groove on here. So to me, they're the highlights. So we're similar. I'm not as high on Rock and Roll Dream. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But here's what I think about the album. Oh, well, actually, I'll ask you first. What do you think about the recording?
Well, it's interesting because Brendan O'Brien comes on to produce, and he is from Pearl Jam fame. Bruce Springsteen, he produced those run of albums, The Rising, Magic, Devils and Dust. He produced Dogman, King's X,
You good?
the first 2 STP albums, which are great, Core and Purple. So when I first heard that he was coming on, like I knew of him because I had all those albums, right? And then there was a rumor, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard it a couple times that Mutt Lange was interested in coming back and being part of this album. And I'm not sure if they reached out or if he just expressed interest. It kind of went down that he just couldn't fit into his schedule. So I'm not sure like if it was actually going to happen, but his name was out there. And then, someone suggested Brendan O'Brien. So, and then he says he tried to get it harken back to those big hooky AC/DC songs of the 80s where, Stiff Upper Lip was like more like a bluesy type rock album, right?
Correct.
But I think the production sounds great. Like I think he did what he set out to do. Like the choruses, they're up front, they're hooky, and they're very catchy. And it's got a nice sound on the album. Like I really like the production, and so it worked out. And he's been their producer ever since. Like they've done the Rock or Bust and then the Power Up, and it's Brendan O'Brien is the AC/DC producer now. So I think he did a great job, and I really like the way the album sounds, and I think he got the most out of them. Yeah.
Okay. I love how he recorded the rhythm section. It has that same classicist sound that you have on those Mutt Lange albums.
Yeah.
But actually, even better, I think you hear Cliff better than you did on there. But he really did justice to Cliff and Phil on here. I love that that rhythm section is way up in the mix. I like how Brian sounds on here on his vocals. He sounds like the time off did him some good.
Yeah.
He sounds better here than he has in a long time. I'm not
8
saying
years. Yeah.
Yeah,
8 years.
Many, well, 8 years there. So yeah, that was a big break between albums.
Yeah.
But I think this is probably the best he may have sounded. This might be stretching. Some people might think I'm stretching here. This is like the best he ever sounded since Flick of the Switch.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. Yeah. He sounds phenomenal on it. Yeah.
Flick of the Switch, I thought he sounded like a monster. And I don't think he ever quite got back to that.
Yeah.
But here he comes close.
Mm-hmm.
What I wish there was more punch in the guitars. It sounds, sometimes I think the guitars sound a little too polite.
That's a great way of describing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, because sometimes not the performances, they sound rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Yeah, even on the songs I'm not so much into, they sound strong. And Brian sounds strong. Some of the solos for Angus, he really sounds strong. But I think we need a little more punch because it sounds like a little too professional at times.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Maybe if we're going on, like early on, it doesn't really jump out at me. But as the songs go on, like after maybe the first 5 or 6 songs, I think to myself, some of these songs, we need more punch in them, But not that the riffs are bad or anything. It just, I think the solos sound good, but maybe not the rhythm guitars so much.
Yeah, definitely. I see that. Yeah, like if they had like that Back in Black riff punch right there, they would definitely they're great. I think you're right. They would elevate them even higher. Yeah, but that's an excellent point. Yeah, for sure.
One thing about you're saying that the choruses are a lot more hooky. I agree with that. Do you notice a lot of them are just repeating the title of the song?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing that really jumped out at me. Like we're just repeating "Skies on Fire" over and over. War Machine.
Yeah.
Sometimes they mix it up a little bit, like Stormy Mayday. They mix that up a little bit. That sounds good.
Yeah.
But like a lot, or Spoiler for a Fight, although that sounds like in its groove, I think it sounds like classic AC/DC. But yeah, just the chorus sometimes I wish they did a little more work on the choruses. Rock and Roll Train, as simple as it is, rock and roll train going down the track, that to me that sounds great because you got Brian and then you got the other guys doing the response to him saying rock and roll train. So I think that chorus works well. And Big Jack, as much as I love it, the chorus is just Big Jack. Big Jack.
Yeah.
So I think there should have been a little more work on those choruses, but sound wise, they sound like the time off really did them good. One thing we were talking about a little bit before I pressed record, there's 15 songs on here. And AC/DC normally did 10 songs an album. I think by Razor's Edge, they did 12.
Yeah.
15 too much?
Yeah. I wanted to make a comment about this because um, if you read interviews, it was originally supposed to be an 11 song album.
Okay.
And what happened was, like, I guess various members of the band kept saying, well, I want this one on. I like this one. Right. And then they just kind of said, let's just put all of them on. Right. And I think that kind of takes away from it just a bit. I've got 3 songs on here. If they would have made it a 12, I've got it as a 12 song album. I've got 3 songs on here, and I'll mention them that I think would be good B-sides. And what's interesting is that the following year they released the box set Backtracks, which contained a lot of their B-sides and unreleased songs. I think had they pushed these songs to the box set, that would have been perfect, right?
Okay.
Like I think Smash and Grab, She Likes Rock and Roll, and Rocking All the Way, like they're good songs, right? But they're not as good as the other like 12 on there, right? So it is the longest AC/DC album, 15 songs, I think like 55 minutes or something like that. So I think, but then again, it was 8 years, right? And then I never thought of it back then. I was just happy we got all these songs, right? And I think a lot of fans were, but I think just kind of, retrospectively, when you kind of look at them and thinking, wow, like these 12 songs, boy, if that was just the album, I think it would have even kind of been regarded higher. Like it was a success, right? And so yeah, had they just kind of moved those 3 songs to the box set, I think you would have had that classic 11 to 12 song album right there. But then again, it's AC/DC, and when I get AC/DC songs, I'm not going to complain. I'm just saying it's more like a what if type thing. But yeah, it jumps out. It is a little long, and the albums since then have not been that long. So I just think it was that break, and they just, the story goes, they just couldn't decide, and they said, let's just put them all on there. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they needed someone to more crack the whip on that.
Yeah.
Saying, no, these are the only 10 songs or the only 12 songs we're gonna do. And that's that. It's interesting you mentioned Smash and Grab. When I Smash and Grab, I wrote, okay, it's sounding very familiar now. The tempos are starting to get repetitive, although it does have a bit of a spellbound feel in it. Last song on For Those But to Rock, it is starting to sound repetitive. I definitely felt that way about She Likes Rock and Roll and Rockin' All the Way.
Yeah, like they'd be good B-sides. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. B-sides, they'd be fine. I don't know if they're good enough to make the proper album. Another song on here, I'm not high. I think it's catchy, but I don't think it sounds like AC/DC. Money Made, the 4th single. To me, it sounds like the Zach Brown Band. It sounds like good time Southern rock to me.
Yeah.
Okay, as catchy as it is, I'm like, it doesn't sound like AC/DC.
It was a single too. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see why it'd be a single because it's catchy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, it just, it's weird. It's like a Miller Lite song,
I can see that. Yeah.
Venom in AC/DC.
Yeah.
This sounds like something like, and nothing against Miller Lite. I drink Miller Lite, but it just sounds a little tame,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I felt about Money Made. But yeah, the first 5 songs, Anything Goes is my least favorite, but I like it that it's catchy and it has a nice bridge on it. Smash and Grab, I feel the same as you. Spoiling for a Fight, it does have a lot of fire to it. Nanga's a solo on there. Sounds like vintage AC/DC, so I like that. Wheels is cool too, and a lot of it has to do with how spirited they sound on it. Like some of these songs, I mean, they really sound really motivated.
Yeah.
And they didn't always on the 90s albums forward, in my opinion. Like, if you listen to Razor's Edge, I think that's a very top heavy album. Like, the first side of it, I think is killer. And in the second side, I'm not really into it. You got more fire here overall than you have on Razor's Edge, although the highs on Razor's Edge are amazingly high.
Yeah. Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, with Thunderstruck and the titles song and Fire Your Guns. I was never a Money Talks is very catchy. I like it. I don't love it. But there's some wicked stuff on there. Here they sound really motivated. I think Brendan got the best out of them as far as the motivation, and that's why they've kept working with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do have Stormy Mayday is a little interesting too. I mean, it's okay, but I like that we got slide guitar on an AC/DC song, which we normally we never got that before that I could.
No.
Yeah, so and I like that Brian's going a little quieter early on, and then he gets really quiet at the end too. So that's something different. So there's a little more ebb and flow than we normally get. But yes, I mean, my sentiments are similar in the fact that, you take it down to 12, maybe I go 10. Like,
Yeah.
I'd go, I had Rock and Roll Dream as one that I would have cut. I have that like that. And let's see, either Money Made or Stormy Mayday. Maybe I'd take Stormy Mayday off because at least Money Made is catchy. Like, I can see why that was a single.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one thing I'd like to ask you, have you ever seen them live?
Yes, 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw them Fly on the Wall tour was my
nice.
first one. Stiff Upper Lip. And then the last time I saw them was Rock or Bust, and Brian was the singer at that show. And we know what happened like in that tour with his hearing issues, and he just couldn't do it, doctor's orders, and that's when Axel took over. But when I saw them, it was Brian, and they were sounding great, So I was, once all that was kind of said and done, I said, wow, like, I'm so glad that the show I got, I'm sure I still would have gone if it was the Axel replacing him. But I was very grateful that it was a Brian show. So yeah, 3 times. Yeah.
Let me ask before I tell you about the one time I saw them.
Yeah.
In the 80s, they were an arena band. And by the 2000s, they became a stadium band here in the States. Was that the same way in Canada?
Yes. Yeah, I can remember that. Like Stiff Upper Lip. I saw that was an arena show. That was at a hockey arena.
Okay.
And when Rock or Bust came, that was like a stadium. So it was the same in Canada because we're also playing, like, they had the big stadiums in Toronto and Vancouver, so they were playing those stadiums also. So yeah, it was the exact same. Like, they became like that big stadium, a global band. Kind of like how Maiden is now. They just come that global band. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, same in Canada. Yeah.
Now that I think about it, Black Ice, the opening date on the tour for this album was actually 20 minutes from my house. I didn't go. It was
wow.
It was in Wilkes-Barre. Yes. It was at our hockey arena, and it held probably 10,000 for concerts. So yeah.
I missed my chance to go on the Black Ice tour, so regretted that, but happy to catch him on the next one. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
My only time seeing him was 1988. Blow Up Your Video.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a cool show. That was Binghamton, New York, and LA Guns open.
Nice. Yeah.
And LA Guns were promoting that first album, that great first album.
And yeah.
That was a good show. 2 things that were interesting, though. One, Stevie Young played the tour.
Yep.
But he looked just like Malcolm, so you didn't really know. And back then,
nobody knew. Yeah.
Nobody knew. I didn't know until like 30 years later that was Stevie.
Same here.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think anybody knew what was going on. Malcolm was dealing with what he was dealing with, but I think a lot of us found out many, many years later. I know that's how I found out. Yeah.
And we didn't have the information out there today. There was no internet back then, folks. So, we didn't know. I mean, we saw a short guy with long hair just going like this, and we just figured that was Malcolm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
no idea.
hard to do that these days with the internet and everything, but back then, yeah, they could pull it off. Yeah.
Exactly. Number two, that night, after they walked off stage and they bring the cannons out, you're
Oh,
thinking they're going to play For Those Spots of Rock. We didn't get it.
oh, wow,
We didn't get it. And I've gone on Setlist FM. I think we might have been the only
wow,
tour that didn't get For Those Spots of Rock. I don't know if something happened to one of the guys
oh,
in the
wow,
band, but yeah,
yeah,
they had the cannons out there and we're going crazy waiting for it. And then the lights come up. We never
oh
got
my
it.
gosh, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, it was a, it was a cool show. They were promoting Blow Up Your Video. And on that tour, what I understand is they were switching some of the songs out from that album. Like they were doing Heat Seeker, and that's the way I like to rock and roll because they were the singles and the videos. But that night they did Go Zone, and what I understand is on other dates they were doing Nick of Time, and there was another one, maybe Kissin' Dynamite. They were doing. I would have loved to have seen Kissin' Dynamite. That's my favorite song on the album.
Great song, yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your? I mentioned Flick of the Switch being the album that I go back to these days. What's the one for you?
Oh, definitely Flick of the Switch. And Power Age I play the most these days. So the two I play the most these days are Flick of the Switch and Power Age. And Power Age has vaulted into my number one. Like that, my ACDC ranking changes all the time. Like they're those top six or so interchangeable, but boy, the last couple of years it's been big time Power Age and Flick of the Switch. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned Power Age. Now, see, let me see if you feel the same way. Back in the day, I bought those cassettes I showed. I bought them all. Oh God, I had them all by the time I was maybe 16 years old before Blow Up Your Video and Razor's Edge.
Yeah.
And I loved Let There Be Rock. I loved Highway to Hell. I didn't play Power Age much. It was one of those, it was a grower. It's
Yeah.
one of those albums that, and my friends, we were all like CDC fans in high school, and they were all kind of the same. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, riff raffs on there. And, that's, Sin City. And that was about it. We didn't really pay it much mind. But that to me is the album that's really aged like a fine wine.
Yeah, and I had the similar experience. Liked it, but there's something that's happened in the like what you just said there was perfect. The last 5 years, that is just like vaulted for me personally. So I feel like the exact same way. Like just song after song on that. Yeah, it was just it was good back then. Of course, I liked it, but not as much as I like it now. Let's put it this way. Yeah.
And it's funny that it was like we felt that way. And I felt that way before I joined the Contrarians and started talking
Yeah.
about music.
Mhm.
You go on the Contrarians, you're meeting all these people who felt the same way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't big into Power Age back in the day, but now that's my favorite Bon album.
Yeah, you hear that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like the one album that seems to, in their catalog, that's aged very, very well. I mean, maybe perhaps we got a little sick of the Highway to Hell, maybe a little sick of Dirty Deeds because we played Dirty Deeds all the time.
Yeah.
Dirty Deeds was played as was on the radio all the time too.
And similar, like Flick of the Switch has grown in stature, like through the years, and it's more highly regarded now than it was back on release. Like
Was
back in the day, I bought that as a new release, and I was an active rock radio listener back in the '80s, like we all were. Uh, Flick of the Switch got a little bit of airplay, but then they stopped playing. They played all the other AC/DC songs, but that album has also grown in stature with the fans. And it is just like they realize, oh gosh, this is like the heaviest AC/DC album. And we just didn't realize it back then. Yeah.
exactly, and that was a Vanda and Young production.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. They stripped everything away and they wanted to kind of do it themselves. Yeah.
yeah, and it just had more balls to it
Yeah.
on that album. But yeah, that's the one that I always go back to. Power Age of the Bond era, definitely Power Age. Let There Be Rock, love it to death, but I got so beat on it from listening to it over and over. But I mean, that's a fantastic album. What do you think of the Dirty Deeds album?
It's funny. Like I remember back in the day, there was confusion, right? It's just like because it was released after Back in Black. None of us knew that it would have been released like years earlier, and it was actually their third album, right? Or a second album.
Second album
Yeah,
international.
second album. Yeah, and it was confusing because the logo and the album cover. We
Right.
love the song, right? But I almost, I love the album. Obviously, yeah, yeah, classic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love the album, but I just remember the confusion of it back then. And like we were talking earlier, I file that after Back in Black, even though I should be filing it earlier, in the catalog. But it's great. And I always found it confusing too, like, rocker repeats. I never understood that back in the day. It took me to like, years later. Oh yeah, that's because it was released like before then, right? But just another classic. It's so odd. And the same thing with like 74 Jailbreak. Fantastic EP, right? That was confusing too. It's just like, wow, like Brian's not singing on these. This is like back in the day, but when you kind of look at the whole history of it, oh yeah, these were just leftovers and they didn't get released in North America. But yeah, great songs on Dirty Deeds. Yeah, love that. Yeah,
I am. I thought that one for a Bond album, it had a little bit of filler. Like some of this, like ain't no fun, waiting around to be a millionaire, and there's gonna be some rocking. It just seemed to go on a little too long for me.
yeah,
But Ride On is awesome. Squeal,
classic. Yeah,
the title track. The title track is one of their best songs. We all loved Big Balls when we were a kid. Now it's like, no, it's like, all right, whatever. But I mean, back when we were kids, we thought it was the funniest thing in the world. But yeah, it's good. I mean, you got Problem Child on there, but it was already on Let There Be Rock. And then Rocker would later be on If You Want Blood, would be on If You Want Blood.
yeah,
We get it international.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, Ches, how would you rank Black Ice on a scale of 1 to 10?
So for me, obviously love it, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go like an 8.5, solid like
Okay.
8.5, right? And just like I wish, of course, I love that we got all the songs, but I think we're looking at 9.5 if they had just taken those three songs and put them on the box set that followed. But then again, when it comes to ACDC, very little for me to complain about. Like I'm happy I got the songs, but I'm going for a solid 8.5 out of 10.
Very cool. I'm going 7, and a part of me wanted to go lower, but the more I listen to this album, the rhythms are really going in for me. They're growing on me, I should say. I still think it's a top heavy album outside the title track. It ends it. I think that's maybe the best song on the album since, except for Rock and Roll Train. Yes, to me, I think it needed some editing. I think the guitars needed some punch, but Brian sounds great. Angst's solos are great. Phil and Cliff sound great. Brendan was a good choice for them. The fact that we got him for the next two albums. So I would definitely go with a 7 on this album. To me, it's like 10 songs is the sweet spot for ACDC.
Yeah,
12,
yeah,
okay. You could, maybe 12 is the most you could do. But yeah, to me, their albums should be like lean and mean and dirty. And I wish
yeah.
it was a little dirtier and a little leaner. But there are some really, really cool tracks on here. And Rock and Roll Train is wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah. So this is ACDC Black Ice. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you think of this album? And what do you think of AC/DC's music? Have you seen them live? Did you see them back in the day when their tickets were like $5? Did you see them opening for bands like Rainbow back in the day? Did you see them with Bon Scott? Did you see them on the Back in Black tour when they were playing, or when they were playing arenas in the 80s when you could see them for less than $20 through the 80s? Didn't you? Did you only see them later after they became more of a brand and they became a bigger band, a stadium band? What era do you prefer, the Bon era or the Bryant era? Do you think this album is a little too long, or do you think it's perfect the way it is? Please let us know in the comments what you think of AC/DC Black Ice. Chez, thank you so
Thank you.
much. You're
Thank you,
welcome.
John. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks for recommending this album. I'm glad that I picked this up, even though it's not one of my favorites. There's a lot on here that I really, really like. AC/DC's Black Ice. So, Chez, do you have anything going on YouTube with Tim or Cindy and
Oh,
Logan?
we just Tim and I just reviewed the latest Helix release
Oh,
on his channel. Great release by Helix. So we just reviewed that on his channel recently. So great album. Yeah. So great album to check out.
oh, nice. I had no idea. I knew
Yeah.
they were still putting out albums. I didn't know they put one out just recently.
Yeah, yeah. It's got some 5 new songs, and they've picked some lesser known songs from albums that didn't kind of like make. They're giving some songs from recent releases another chance that just
Okay.
kind of flew under the radar. So they kind of piled them all together with the 5 new songs and made an album of it. Good stuff, really good stuff.
Oh, that's actually a really cool idea, because
Yeah,
somebody missed them the first time around, yet they believed in them so much that they put them back
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It makes for a great release. So really enjoying that one. Yeah,
Very, very good. I gotta check that out. Full disclosure, I know the 80s albums.
yeah,
I I think Wild in the Streets is a very good album. I bought
yeah.
that back in the day, and then I bought the CD when it came out on Rock Candy.
Yep, yeah. Got that too. Yep, nice.
Oh yeah, good stuff on there.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. Do what you love, and we'll talk to you soon.